Hi, thank you, Rafish. Hi, everyone. My name is Abhinav Frankel of the SAP Business One product management team, and I have got a lot to share with you today. And I'm sure that what I'm going to share with you today about analytics and AI services is going to generate a lot of questions. And please, please, please put all your questions in the Q&A. We'll probably not answer any of them, maybe just a few of them before we get to the end of my presentation, and then we'll have plenty of time, I hope, to discuss your questions at the end of my presentation. So that said, please make sure you put the questions in the Q&A. There is no chat. Everything goes in the Q&A. So here is the agenda of the topics we're going to discuss today. We're going to talk about some existing functionality that you may not necessarily be aware of the details. And then we're going to talk a lot about what's going to be coming in the 2608 release and AI functionality in 2608 and our vision for the future for AI in the web client. So all this is to come. Please, I hope you'll find it very interesting. So let's get straight in. We've got a lot to talk about here. So let's get straight into the new Crosstab reports that were delivered initially in 2602. So I'm going to open up this the sales analysis Crosstab report, which is what we delivered in 2602. And I want to emphasize that the this Crosstab report is the shape of many reports that are about to come in 2608 and beyond. So it's worthwhile spending a few minutes talking about it. So with the sales analysis report itself, there are two sub-reports, one dealing with the header and line data and another with the header data only. We're going to look at the header and line data for the moment. And we can see at the top of this of the filter bar, we're looking at deliveries, orders, and invoices. And we're also looking at a 4-year data period. This is a bit of an old database. And we have the capability in all of our crosstab reports to filter by many, many fields. Believe there's over 100 fields to filter by in this sales analysis report. And we have two main sections. The first section of the report is the main grid, and here it's called the sales analysis grid. And we can see that this is the crosstab view where the rows are marked by the items, and we've got the columns are the delivery, invoice, and orders per year. And we have a button to allow us to enter into a full screen presentation of the main grid, the crosstab grid, where we see more data. We can scroll up and down it and find what it is we're looking for, and then we can come back to uh, reduce it back to its original size. And we also have another grid here called the breakdown grid, which is the breakdown of the underlying transactions from the crosstab view. And we see the total of just over 41 million it reflects all the transactions in this report at the moment, in this filtered view at the moment, because we haven't yet selected a data point within the main crosstab grid. As soon as we do that, let's select this 221.25, then the breakdown at the bottom reflects the filters or the additional filters of the item LM4029A PCD and the year 2022 and all the invoices related to that. So we see all those transactions and we see 22125 in the breakdown grid there. And if I click on the 67,560, we see the net sales amount for all the deliveries in that period for LM4029. And again, we can, in the breakdown grid, we can zoom in to see all the data. And if there is much more data, scroll up and down and have a look at the underlying transactions. And by the way, from the underlying transactions, I should mention, you can see you've got the link arrows. You can go open up the document numbers, go to the item master data, go to the transaction, the journal entry transaction related to it, etc., etc. So you have full drill down capability from the breakdown table, from any of the fields in the breakdown table. Now we have a settings button on the main grid, and that allows us to select the measures and dimensions that we want to appear in the main grid. Let's start off by selecting a dimension, and this is going to be the customer code. And we enter in the customer code as a dimension, and by default, we press OK. By default, it's added as a row dimension under in the hierarchy under the item code dimension. So let's expand the item code dimension, and now we see the customer code under that, and we see the breakdown of the delivery invoice and order data for the 2022 in this case. I just clicked on 2400 there, and we have for this item, for this customer, for this year, and for all the deliveries, we see the total breakdown of 2400, which is only one transaction. And if I click on 11400 for the orders, I see there's two orders that were made by that customer for that item in 2022. So, okay, now let's remove the delivery and the orders from our view. So press go and changing the filter here. So we're now just looking at invoice information, sales invoice information. And so we can now say, well, I don't want the customer hierarchy to be underneath the item code. I want to change the hierarchy so the customer comes first and then the item code comes under it. So just click and drag as you just saw. And I can now expand the customer code and see the invoice sales per item for that customer. I can click on the 19200 and see the breakdown of all those invoices for that specific customer in 2023. 19200 is the total in the breakdown. So let's go back into the rows and group and column. Right, we're going to change the we're grouping by the customer code at the moment, but we can change that to be a column grouping. So we can change the customer code to be, instead of a row group, to a column group, and we can see now that we've got column grouping of 2022. We still have the document type column group of invoice, and we have all the customers under that. Now, we might want to go back into the column grouping and remove the document type because we're filtering by invoices. We don't need it anymore because we've only got one document type. And we see that the customer is underneath the year. And here are all the customers. So maybe we want to switch that around, and just like we did it for the rows, we can switch the hierarchical presentation, move the customer code to the higher point in the hierarchy, and you've got the date underneath the year, in this case the year, and we see all the years AR invoice information per customer. Now that we've looked at a dimension, let's now add some measure fields. So we want to add the quantity. Let's add the quantity. We've already got the net sales amount. Let's add the quantity and also add the record count. Let's type in record count. There you go. So press OK there. And now we see for that customer, we can see customer C20,000 for all the years. For each year, let's say 2022, we see the net sales amount, the quantity, and the record count. And if I click on the second row here, I click on the 23 for that item AO2, I see the total sales for that item in that year is 6,900, but I don't have the other fields visible yet in the breakdown grid, and I note that there's about 140 fields to potentially bring onto the breakdown grid. Now we're not going to have all of those here, it'll be too much for us, but we want to select some specific ones. In this particular case, I want to select the quantity field and the record count so we can see the consistency between the breakdown grid and the main grid. So let's bring those two fields on and move a little bit to the right. And we can see that we have the 23 and the breakdown of the quantity per invoice, and then the record count, which of course is 1 per invoice. So, and that matches the 6,900 of the net sales amount and the quantity of 23 and the record count of 3. So I've made several changes here. I might want to save this as a new variant, a new view that I would use in the future. I'm not going to do that now. I could save as a new one. I could save over the one I've got, but I'm going to open up another variant that I've previously saved. And we can see this one is working with the header data only. And what that means is there are certain fields that are available for it. So we're looking at the invoices and 4 years of data, but the fields here, the document total and the gross profit total, they're all coming from the actual header of the document as opposed to the lines. So coming out of that, and we're just going to jump very quickly into the profit and loss statement. And you'll see that the general structure of the profit and loss statement is very similar. So we're not going to go through all that detail in the profit and loss statement. I'm just going to highlight a couple of points about the profit and loss statement, which in 2602 was released for UK, Germany, and US. And in 2608, the same report is going to be released for all localizations, but not with the localization elements. All localizations will have the same report though. So in this report we can choose from the posting date document. We have to choose from the posting date document or due date, and for what we have to specify a date period, and we can use date offset functionality to specify that period. Data offset being very, very important to the web client. And we can select from whichever template of the chart of accounts we want to select from. I'm not going to do that now. We can go down into the main grid, which is entitled here Profit and Loss Statement. And we have a field there called Account Name, which gives us the structured template presentation of the chart of accounts. I can expand down to the level of the actual accounts here, and I see for this account that we've just selected, I can select, let's say the Q3 balance figure of 363,282. It gets filtered out and into the breakdown. We see the breakdown of the transactions related to Q3 2022 for that particular account in the breakdown grid at the bottom. Okay, so going into the row and column grouping, let's just have a look at this date field. And the date field is the posting date because we've selected the date definition of posting date in the top left-hand side. We can, and this is generic for any date field, we can choose how we want the date to be presented by quarter, by week, by day, by month. And we changing it now to year, and we see instead of the quarterly presentation, we see the annual presentation. Now, in the form settings for the main grid here, we don't have many fields to select from, but we do have some important fields, which are the life to date and the year to date, which is like we have in the B1 desktop. By the way, in 2608, we will have significantly more measure fields to select from in this profit and loss statement for the main grid. So let's just select these two fields and bring them onto the main grid. And now we can see the balance, the life to date, the year to date, the total, and for the breakdown for each year. And okay, in the adapt filters, currently we've got a small selection of filters that we can choose from, and we will be extending that significantly in the 2608 release. We are planning to. So, and if we look at the breakdown settings, we see there are already over 100 fields that you can select from to bring in the underlying transactional details and information there. And of course, as I said before with the sales analysis report, here you can even see the transaction number has got a link. We can just open up the journal entry directly from the profit and loss statement itself. So that is the in a nutshell, that is the crosstab reporting functionality. And let's just now talk about what we're planning to do. So that's the current functionality in 2602. In 2608, we're extending, as I mentioned, the profit and loss statement to also be applied to additional localizations and adding additional filter and analysis fields. But very importantly, we're going to be adding the general ledger report, the inventory movement report, and as a complement to the sales analysis report, we're also providing the purchase analysis report. And they are all going to be in the same format of the crosstab report itself. So, and in addition to that, we will enable all the crosstab reports to have export to Excel capabilities. And beyond 2608, for plan for 2702 and beyond that, we want to start more deeply integrating our crosstab pattern with the general web client functionality that involves when we've created various variants and views, we should be able to import and export them just like we can import and export in the list view. And we want to enable the crosstab pattern for linked list view functionality, which will mean that you can open up a filtered report from somewhere else, or open up open up navigate to some other place from the report itself, from the crosstab pattern report itself. So, and in the future, we have plans to provide a designer where a crosstab presentation may be joined by other presentations, by other patterns by that time, that can consume all data sources, including UDQs that we create. So these are exciting plans that we are thinking about providing in the future, and we're certainly well on our way. And even the 2608 release should be very very important for all of you, covering these three special crosstab reports. So moving on. Very quickly, so I just want to bring your attention to something we've released before called a KPI Calculator. So in the KPI Calculator, let's go to the ARR invoice list view, and we're going to open up a specific dashboard that I created earlier for the year before last. So the 2024 transactions are visible here. So let's scroll down a little bit and open up, have a look at the item quantity sold card and go into edit mode and open up that card. So edit that card. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a KPI. Now we had KPI functionality previously to select any measure any measure field for the which would be presented for the 2024 year. But I'm selecting now the formula option, which is relatively new, and we can now type in fields from that are available here in this list view. I'm selecting the document total. I want to subtract the VAT amount, the tax amount. So right, tax amount, and put in end brackets, and we're just putting in a little formula, and we press divide, backslash, and put in the quantity. So what have we done? Let's test it, and I'm just going to paste in what that is. It's the average net price per item, and we can see that in the pre-card preview it's 2.3k, the average net price per item. Let's save the card. Now the card is now presented, but we haven't yet saved the actual dashboard itself. We can finish the edit, and we still haven't saved the dashboard, and I'm not going to save the dashboard. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a tile from this list view. And when we save a tile from, I think, pretty much any list view, here's a sales invoice history year before last, and we're going to enter in the subtitle, paste it in average invoice value, and we're now going to put in a different formula, something else. This is not connected to the formula we just created for the card that was independent, and we're putting the average invoice value, we're selecting the document total, and this time we're going to divide it by the record count. Let's type in record count, and there it is, and test it, and we can see the average value is 15,800 roughly, and we're going to put it in the My Home section of the main screen, the home screen. So the tile was created on the home screen. Let's go to the My Home section of the home screen, and there, lo and behold, we have this tile here, the average invoice value showing us 15.8k, and we open it up and we come back. Even though we hadn't saved this view, it's still, when we save as a tile, it effectively is saving the view as it is at that moment, including the KPI that was stored in this card. So that should hopefully bring the KPI calculator functionality to your attention. And it's now time to move on to another point to bring to your attention, the UDQ, user-defined query drill down capability. So let's go over to our user-defined query capability, functionality, and we're going to open up a user-defined query that already exists that I created previously, journal entry transaction ledger. And by the way, I've given this to you in the past, and I'll give you a download for this at the end. You'll be able to download it and inspect this and actually understand and delve into it more deeply. When I open up the, here I've got the BP, the transactions for a BP, and this the journal entry transactions for this BP, I see that the transaction number has got no link on it, and wouldn't it be useful to be able to drill down to the journal entry? And also, wouldn't it be useful to drill down to the document itself? So that's really what I want to show you. I want to show you that it can be done. And the way it can be done is we go and edit the user-defined query. And the first link is relatively simple. We just link the trans ID field to the OJDT journal entries table. So that just provides a direct link, and that will cause the yellow golden arrow, the golden arrow to appear. Now with the document number, it's a little bit more complicated because we've got a match on the document type and the number. So by doing that, we see line 2, between line 2 and 4 of the columns listed here in the trans type origin, and then we select the match unique ID with the line 4, the created by original, and right, so select that and update. And the key point is that when you do that, when you open up in list view, you can then see we have the drill down. Let's open that up again, and we can now see the transaction number has got the drill down to the journal entry screen. So if I can select the quick view here, and it's got transaction number 382. And when I press view more, I can open up the journal entry. I'm not going to do that now to save time. And if I click on, let's say, an incoming payment 36, I've now got the quick view to open up that payment itself, payment number 36. I can press view more to actually open up the payment itself. Or maybe if I want to go to the invoice, AR invoice 46, I can click on that. And now I see the quick view comes up for AR invoice 46. So the key point here and the key message is that this can be done. If you really want to investigate it further, please download that user-defined query and play with it. And I'll give you the download link later if you haven't already downloaded it from past sessions. Now we've just got to the point where we're going to start talking about 2608 functionality and AI, which I'm sure you all want to hear about. So I want to introduce a new feature that we are bringing into 2608 called the Parameter UDQ. And I'm going to introduce it by using an example of using our new AI UDQ. So let's get in. Let's just talk about AI UDQ for a second. I'll let you absorb this slide. Please download the slides after the session. I'm not going to talk through this slide in detail. I just want to mention that our AI UDQ functionality allows us to ask questions about the Business One data. It's as simple as that, and we can get answers, and you'll see as I'm demonstrating it, you'll see how it provides the answers. And we'll talk about it more in due course. But what I want to do is I want to show you two examples, and two examples of using the parameter UDQ with the AI UDQ. These two examples are very similar to each other, and it should bring out the nuances, the differences between how you can construct a SQL query in order to take advantage an SQL statement using AI in order to get the best advantage out of the list view presentation. So let's go straight into example one. A picture's worth more than 1,000 words. So let's just go straight into creating the user-defined query. I'm going to paste in the name here. We're going to create a customer detail aging a list view and category general. Now we're going to generate it with AI, and we're going to ask a very specific question which is going to talk about parameterization. So provide customer detailed aging by posting date with 6 aging periods of all open transactions. The aging period length in days in this query is to be set by a user input parameterized variable. And I press submit, and chug, 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 it's now generating that user-defined query. I can press more to expand that query. We're not going to inspect the whole query, but I just want to highlight there is one special statement in the query, which is this colon followed by period days. And because the colon followed by by the text is it identifies a parameter, so we now have a parameterized query, and this is new, brand new in 2608. Let's apply the last apply that query, and we notice at the top of the screen that the user-defined query tabs, we've got another tab here, one called parameters. Let's click on it, and we can see the parameters. We've got the period days, and we can set a default value, which we will do, and this is setting up the aging buckets effectively, the length of the aging periods that we are going to have by default when we run the report. And I'm going to put in a very large number because the data in this particular database, it's a test database, it's very old data. So 1,000 days for each aging period. Let's just add it. And we're opening it up in the list view. Now let's have a look at what the AI generated SQL statement has provided us with. We've got the business partner transactions for each. This one, the first one's an invoice. We've got the debit amount, credit amount, open balance, the aging days. If I move to the right-hand side, we've got exactly what we asked for: 6 periods, and totaling the 10.6 million broken down into those or the open debt, it's broken down into the 6 periods, and we can see what the open debt is for each of those periods. And what is the period length? Well, it's by default, it's come in, if I go into the change parameters area, it's come in as 1,000 days per period. So let's now, let's play a little bit. So we're going to group by customer, and we're also going to sort ascending by posting date. And let's open up one of the customers, and we're going to open up this one, C20,000. And if we scroll to the right, we've now got what would look like a normal aging report experience, where at the top of the list, we've got the oldest debt, period 6 debt, and then scrolling going down the list, we've got the period 5 debt. And then scrolling down a bit further, we then have the period 4 debt, and then ending with the period 3 debt. And that's a normal aging, a detailed aging presentation. And let's collapse that BP. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change the parameter, because that's the whole point of it, change it in real time. So I'm going to now put in an astronomical number and hope that we would expect, by putting in a large number, that pretty much most or everything should be in the first period. Let's see if it is. Scroll to the right a little bit, and we see most of it is in period 1, not quite. There's a little bit left over for period 2 there. So let's just now do it the other way. Let's go into change parameters and put in a very small value. So we would expect, if I put in just 100 days of each aging period, that everything should appear in period 6. And sure enough, actually this time it does. Everything does appear, and the whole 10.6 million appears in period 6. So that is first example of what I want to show you. Now I want to show you a completely different way of doing the same thing. And let's go back in to the user-defined query, example 2, and we're going to create a new user-defined query, a customer detailed aging, example 2, and let's now generate with AI, and I'm going to paste in a different question. We're going to get a similar answer, but in a different way. Provide detailed aging by posting date, and this time by due date, and also by document date, with 6 aging periods. And the length, the period aging length in days in this query is set to the set by the user input parameterized variable. So up until now, it's more or less the same, except now we're saying the aging period should not be displayed. I'm going to press submit in the meantime. The aging period should not be displayed in separate columns. Rather, they should be displayed as periods 1 to 6 within the 3 columns: aging by posting date, aging by due date, and aging by document date. So here is the output, and the critical point of this output is the parameter period days has been used as well in this case. So let's just apply that SQL statement and put in again the default value for that parameter of 1,000 days. And now let's go straight in, add it, and open it in the list view. And ta-da, we've now got all the transactions listed here, and you can see the total, the net open amount column is the same 10.6 million. And the aging here, aging by posting date, due date, and document date, we've got 3 columns. And instead of having 6 columns of periods 1 to 6, we've now got the period is identified against the transaction within a single column. Why does that help me? Well, let's just now group it by aging by posting dates. I can group it immediately. I can see the grouped totals. And you can still ask me, why does that help me? Didn't I see those totals at the bottom of the other report that we were looking at? Well, here's where it comes into its own. I can go into the chart view, and instead of the record count, I'll choose the net open amount dimension, and sorry, the net open amount measure, and now choose the BP code as the first dimension, and the aging by posting date as the second dimension, and change the chart type to something a bit more meaningful. And I now can see the aging by period per customer in a nice little chart. And I like this chart, so I'm going to save this for posterity. So let's save this as the customer aging chart, and we save it. And using our parameterized parameters, we can now go into change parameters. Let's do what we did before. Let's now put in, well, 5,000 didn't quite work last time. Let's put in a ridiculous number, 10,000 day aging period. And we expect everything to be in period 1 now. Let's press OK. And sure enough, you can see everything's just one color now. And in the legend, we see it says period 1. And if I were to now go and change the parameters to a very small value, I would expect everything to then be put into period 6. Let's put in 10, 10-day aging periods, and press OK. And everything should change now to period 6, which it does, as you can see from the legend. So that is an introduction to parameter queries and AI UDQ as well, all planned for 2608. Now it's time to talk about Ask AI, another key feature, AI feature for 2608. Now, some of you may have seen what I'm about to present a month ago in the partner meeting. Hopefully I'll present it with a little bit more insight this time. I'm not going to walk through this slide. It's for you to look at after the presentation and download it. But AI, the Ask AI is in a nutshell, is an ability to ask context-linked AI questions. And the best way to explain that is by showing it to you. So let's now open up the item list view. And in the item list view, we are going to scroll down to the bottom, and we will see there are 2 Xerox printers, the multifunction printer and the work center, that I want to have more information about. So we have this new Ask AI button, function button, select that. And I've got some pre-saved questions that I've set up, and one of them is summarize technical specifications. That's what I want. So I want to know all about these printers. So please provide a summary of key technical specifications separately for the following 2 printers. And it's thinking away, and there it comes. And let's press more. And I see the breakdown of the technical summary specifications for these printers. And I may want to continue the conversation. Let's continue the conversation, and let's put in provide expected prices for these printers. And I submit that. So AI now gives us hopefully an answer very soon. And here it comes. So it's showing us the expected prices in different markets. So it gives us more, and we can continue the conversation if we want to. We're not going to now. Let's come out of the item list view, and the Ask AI is enabled in all list views. So let's open up the sales order list view. We can see the Ask AI button here, but this time we're going to open up sales order itself. We see all the document headers are also enabled for Ask AI, and the document rows are enabled for Ask AI. And I'm going to select all of these 4 data points on the document rows, and notice the quantity: 4 Xerox multifunction printers, 2 work centers, 3 portable hard disks, and 10 reams of printer paper. And I've got a question I want to ask AI about, and I want to know what are the expected shipping times and costs for these items, and what are the expected time frames and costs for shipping in the USA for the following items? And it lists the items, and very importantly, it says with the following respective quantities, and it lists those as well. And it gives us an answer. And now I can expand that, and it tells me all the details of different shipping types and the costs associated with all the shipping types for the different types of product as well. So, and I can continue the conversation if I want to. I don't want to now. Hope you don't mind. And what we're going to do is go back to the home page and look at another example. But this time we're going to go back to the AI UDQ in order to demonstrate another Ask AI feature. So let's create another AI UDQ. And this time we're going to let's paste it in. Paste in the name item quantities with latest costs and prices. And we're now going to generate with AI. We're going to generate the SQL statement. Let's paste in the question. So show me a list of all items with their current total quantities together with the latest incoming cost per item and the latest outgoing price per item. So hopefully that'll come in soon. And there it is. There is the query that's come in. I didn't ask for parameterized query, so this is not a parameterized query. And apply the last reply. This is just a regular SQL statement. Notice the tabs at the top. We don't have the parameter tab at the top. This is just a regular SQL query like we previously had in Web Client. I can preview the top 1,000 rows if I want to, and I'm just doing that to have a look at the data. Is this the data that I want? I've got the item code, description, total quantity, the latest incoming cost, the latest outgoing price. All that's good, but I'm missing something. I would really like to add the item group. So I can continue my conversation with the AI in terms of adapting and changing the SQL statement. So I want to add the item group name. And I've just got another statement here, SQL statement, applying it now, and it's scroll down and look at the preview of the top 1,000 rows. And I see that, yes, we've got the additional field item group name. That's great. Let's now add this, and we are going to open it up in the list view. Opening up in the list view, and we will have a list of all of these items, as we just saw, with their quantities, costs, and outgoing prices as well. So I'm going to filter out some of these items and everything beginning with SB and press go. I believe there are 10 of them. Let's see. Yes, there are 10 of them. And let's just expand the description. They're all household items. You're probably familiar with most of them, at least some of them. Let's select them all. I want to ask AI questions about all of these household items and you'll see the question now. But this time, because I just created a user-defined query, it's brand new. There are no previously saved template questions. So I'm going to ask a one-off question. So let's just ask a question here. Click on that. And we've still got to make this screen a little bit prettier. We haven't done it yet, but I'm going to paste in a question. It's actually very simple to type it in and to type in the field variables. But let me just read the question to you. The following items and the field variable item name. The following items have the following respective vendor costs and the following respective customer prices. Please compare these costs and prices with the current worldwide market costs and prices. So let's now just press Ask AI and let it do that comparison. And you can see it's replaced the items with those 10 items have been replaced, and then with their respective vendor costs and the respective customer prices. And it's thinking, and eventually it will get to a presentation, a comparative presentation of how our prices and costs compare with what's happening in the market for these branded goods. And are they aligned with the market? Do we have a strong margin? Are we spending have we got a high cost compared to the market, etc., etc. So actually, this is a very useful, I think, anyway, for my business, this is a very useful question. I want to save this for future use in this user-defined query, against this user-defined query. So I select the option to save the question, and it opens up this module where I can create the questions. And I'm going to paste in the name for this question, items versus market costs and prices, and press save. And it has now saved the question. And let's just take a little bit of a look at this app, which allows us to see all the questions for all the items, all the screens where Ask AI has been enabled, and we call it context-linked AI questions. And you can see all these modules. I'm not going to drill down into them to show you absolutely everywhere where we've enabled it. But I'll just expand the user-defined queries. Here's the one we created, item quantities with latest costs and prices. And we see the number one there that shows that we've got one template question that is ready to go next time I go into that list view for that user-defined query. So that brings us to the end of what I wanted to show you about Ask AI, also with a bit of AI UDQ. And now is the time to talk about our AI setup, our grand vision, and a very interesting, I hope, POC that will no doubt catch your attention. Let's go into AI setup. So in the AI setup, we're going to the administration configuration screen in the general area, company settings. We've now got in 2608, that is 2608, generative AI tab. We can, first of all, enable AI. It is enabled, obviously, in this company. Enable it. It's either enabled or not enabled, but then we've got authorizations to enable Ask AI and AI UDQ separately for each user. And we've got the SAP BTP service key for the BTP pay-as-you-go service. We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And we can select which model we want to use, which LLM you want to use. And there's a couple of other things to select there as well. I'm not going to go into that now. I just want to highlight that every now and again, all of our internal functionality is optimized to use the OpenAI ChatGPT models. And every now and again, a model goes out of service, and you, as a user may want to change the model if it goes out of service to the latest one. It's always recommended to choose the latest one, and you can always select the latest model from this selection box. So that's really what I wanted to show you. Let's cancel that. That's what I wanted to show you about the AI setup. And next is the vision, the big vision, the bigger picture. So let's get into it, ramp up to it. First of all, what have we got at the moment? As you all know, probably we've got several applications, AI applications that are available. And as I'm sure you know very well, you guys have created various partner solutions, and with using our extensibility capabilities, which we offer via our SAP AI core services. So, and we want to obviously extend that capability to ensure that you are as enabled as possible as partners to create your own AI applications. But in addition to that, we have various use cases that we want to deliver. We're delivering the first two, Ask AI and AI UDQ with 2608. There will be more. There will be many more. And of course, AI will eventually be a very significant part of the web client. And we also are planning to release an open source MCP server that you can use. It's open source very intentionally, so you can use it, and it'll be via GitHub, and it'll be released roughly around the same time as we release our 2608 release. That's our plan. So, and that will significantly help you with your extensibility plans for Business One on AI. And I just want to show you this slide. Please download it later to drill down to all of the documents it relates to. In order to use SAP AI core services on using the web client, we need to set up the pay-as-you-go account, and here's some information as to how to do it. And please feel free to download the slides and look at this in more detail later. So that said, right, just a very quick comment about the fact that we have 36 initial stories already put together in a very nice book, which you can download from this from this link, again available in the slide deck. And please approach us to add your own personal AI application stories that you have created, stories about your features and functions that you want to add to our storybook. Okay, with that in mind, well, really, what is our vision in terms of certainly the applications within the web client? So what we've shown you today, first of all, in section 1 over here, is how to access internal SAP Business One database data. So that's and we do that using the AI UDQ. And at the moment, there is a two-step process. We ask a natural language question, we generate the SQL statement, and we have the opportunity to change that statement. And we need to, because let's face it, LLMs are not perfect yet, and we need to be able to make sure that the SQL statement is accurate and the information we're getting out of it is accurate. And then when we're happy with it, then we open it in a list view and we can work with save the list view and we can work with it. What's very important about this, the AI UDQ feature, is that there is absolutely no access on the part of AI. AI does not access the company data, and that's critical. And that is a key issue that certainly in any ERP environment, we want to be able to we're very cautious and we want to be very careful about security access to our database. So AI UDQ is absolutely pristine. There is no interaction whatsoever with the company data that the AI is generating a SQL statement for. And at the moment, we have a two-step process, but in future, when the LLMs get better and more reliable, we can conceal that two-step process and make it a one-step process. And in fact, I've just hinted at what I may be showing you in the POC that's to come, or part of it anyway. And clearly, as LLMs get better, that will be enabled. Now, that's the story as far as internal data is concerned. What about external data? So we want to get information from the outside world and connect it to make decisions on the basis of that information in connection with whatever business process we're doing. And that's where Ask AI comes in. So these two features are not just chosen just on an ad hoc basis. There's a real logic behind it. So we can interface with external data and give the AI, in this particular case, the AI still has no direct contact with the database. It's got, when we're asking the question, it's got no idea who we are. It doesn't know anything about us. It doesn't know about the database itself. It does know about the data that we send it. So when we send it data like, I want to know the technical specifications of the two Xerox printers, I have to tell it that information. Otherwise, it cannot give me the technical specifications. So I do actually have to give it that information. And that's all the information it gets. That's all it knows. So do we do data masking or anything like that? At the moment, we're not doing that. And in a case like that, the Xerox printers and the technical specifications, it's absolutely not relevant because it will not be very helpful if we did mask the data. The AI needs to know that piece of information in order to give us an answer. But at the moment, all we're doing is we're receiving passive answers from the AI. And in future, we're going to have to deal with what happens when, let's say, we want to send a large amount of data, let's say the entire customer ledger, to give an analysis of the customer ledger. Do we mask the data? What about the entire, if we're giving an entire sales ledger information to the AI, do we really want it, even if we mask the data, do we really want it to know that? So we've got to think about all sorts of ways of being able to get all the advantages of AI analysis, but nevertheless be able to protect the security of our data. So we're thinking about that deeply. And ultimately, using something like Ask AI, we want to enable in-app processing, like maybe create a sales order based on the answer that I got from a particular question I asked AI, and it should be able to go ahead and create the sales order to perform a particular task. So all of these things are things that we're thinking about in the future. And ultimately, we want to merge the internal processes, like in number one, with the external processes number two, and get something really super fantastic at the end of the day. But again, subject to the key constraint of data security, which is we consider to be absolutely fundamental. And I already spoke about providing you guys with an open source MCP server. We're doing that, and that's coming soon. And our connection and pricing, the connection I mentioned is already via the SAP BTP pay-as-you-go account, and we do have metered pricing, obviously, in addition to license fees. The metered pricing is not very expensive. Obviously, the more sophisticated model will cost a little bit more per query, per user-defined query, per question, but we're not talking about anything that will break the piggy bank. It's relatively cheap to use for each single question. So that should chart out in general our vision. I should just mention one more thing actually. You may ask about what about Joule? Now, we are currently investigating the possibility of integrating Joule with Web Client. I cannot say at the moment if it will happen or will not happen, but I can say that whether it does or doesn't happen, we will have quite significantly more AI functionality coming into the core of the Web Client. So whether it is with or without Joule, let's see. Having said that, now let's move into the proof of concept that I've been whetting your appetite to see, hopefully, through this presentation. So let's just open up this AI input box. It's very crude. Don't worry about the actual presentation here. This is not supposed to be what it will be in the future. We do not have any idea when this may or may not be delivered. We hope some of it will be delivered sometime during 2027. Don't know for sure at all, but just to give you the idea. Now, what happens here, I'm going to show you two examples. They're actually two different POCs. Here's the first POC, provide comprehensive vendor purchase analysis. And what this does, there's a cue here when I enter in the word purchase analysis, it's telling the AI, or before the pre-AI, it's telling the AI to analyze the purchase analysis using our internal reporting data source, which is for purchase analysis. So, and here is the answer it gives us. It gives us a comprehensive vendor purchase analysis with an executive summary. And then it goes down, giving us all the typical AI analysis, top vendors by total spend, and mid-tier strategic vendors, and purchase order characteristics, average order values, transaction frequency, and on and on. Historical spending trends, key observations, and so seasonal purchasing trends, and etc., etc., etc. Eventually getting to, and you've got a few strategic insights. Eventually getting to, here it is, the overall summary at the end. So that's one POC. And what we can do is we will collapse that window and actually we'll clear it. And now I want to show you POC number 2. And again, the keywords here determine what kind of operation it's going to perform. We can see from the first 3 words, create a UDQ, a user-defined query, with comprehensive customer sales analysis, including a focus on salesperson performance. So in this case, it's actually using the UDQ functionality that I've shown you already, the AI UDQ functionality, and it's actually generating, it's doing what I was hinting at before, generating the UDQ without going to the SQL statement stage, but this is with a twist. It's actually generating the variance. Can you see it's generating the variance at the moment? It's creating the dashboards and the charts that, based on the user's question, that might be optimal for the user to use once the actual list view is presented. And we can see in the background, the list view has opened up. We've gone straight to the UDQ list view, and it tells us what it's done. Here's the customer sales analysis UDQ it's created, what was created exactly, and the key metrics that were tracked, and giving some information about the pre-configured analysis views as well, and the 6 specialized variants that were generated, and then now the UDQ is now ready to use. And we see at the bottom, we've got an edit button and a delete button. We can press the edit button to go into the SQL statement screen and edit it and change it. Or it's been created, the UDQ has been created in a draft mode. We can just delete it from here if we want to, but we may want to inspect it first. So let's just collapse this window. We're going to collapse this window and actually inspect the UDQ, and we've got the business, the BP code, BP name, sales, the salesperson, we've got the invoice amounts. Very importantly, for the financial period name, you see everything's grouped here in this particular view by financial period, December 2006. And yes, it's old data. We've got 3 invoices for this particular customer and that salesperson in that period. And we see the total revenue, the total gross profit, total quantity, average profit margin. All this is generated by the AI UDQ functionality. And very importantly, we've got all of these saved variants. And let's just open up a dashboard variant. This was created by AI. So, and here you see the dashboard variant of the variant containing a dashboard, and we see all the AI related information, top performing salespeople, its performance by period, etc. Let's open up another dashboard. It's actually likely to be quite similar. So this is the sales performance dashboard. We see the revenue by salesperson, the profit margin by salesperson. And as we scroll, revenue by period, the data is not very interesting here, sorry. It's just a test database. Customer group revenue share and total salespersons by revenue. So the idea here is, in fact, this particular feature of generating the UDQ in this way, I suspect that one we might be able to bring to market much quicker than the first one, where it's provided all the information about the purchase analysis, because there's no problem with data access. Again, it's using our existing user-defined query capability, where the AI does not see any of the data. In the first example, the purchase analysis really looks at all of the purchase data, and we probably need to implement things like data masking and maybe other measures in order to protect the security of our data. So, okay. With that said, that's the POC. Hope you liked it. And it's now time to talk about a few downloads. Now, some of you may have downloaded these in the past. If you haven't already, please download these sample example user-defined queries. Hopefully you will find them very useful and very helpful. They're yours, they're free. You can adapt them, you can change them, you can share them with your customers. And it also includes the journal entry transaction ledger, which I showed you how that's got the example of the link of setting up the link to the documents in particular, which you may find useful. So please download that. And I also want to bring to your attention, if you're not aware of it already, we have some extensive training that has been created for the Web Client Analytics. Please, first of all, look at it yourselves and share it with your customers. Your customers can all access this download. Please download the slides and you'll get the individual links to the individual sessions. And please, please, please share it with your customers. Now, having said that, this now gets to the end of what I wanted to share with you, and I want to say thank you for putting up with me for all this time. I hope you really enjoyed, especially the AI functionality that's all coming in 2608. And now the time has come to move into the Q&A session. And I know my colleague Darius has been working very hard, probably on all the BTP questions you've been asking. I'm going to stop sharing now. And you can, of course, download all those slides after our session. And so Darius may want to come in now with a few comments about BTP. I don't know what happened while I was speaking. And Karen's going to ask us lots of questions. So Karen...
Yes, so we have Darius was very diligent and answered a lot of questions, especially on AI. We do have some questions. Maybe we can start with them because they are not related to AI, and then we can go to the other part. So let's go back to the reports. The first question was, is there a possibility to cross invoices and credit notes, deliveries, and returns?
Is there a possibility to what? I didn't hear the next word.
To cross you know, in the report, in the sales analysis, when you show the sales analysis report.
Yes, you've got a document type field there, and you can select from pretty much any document. So yes.
Perfect. And then our delivery invoice order displayed in columns alphabetic order. It would make more sense to have order delivery invoice.
Well, you select which ones you want to show, and I believe
I think you can drag and like you can change the columns, right?
You can change the sequence of the hierarchy, but I think control. If you put whichever one it was first, let's say the order first, I suppose it makes sense. Order, delivery, and invoice. If you select the order first and put it on first, I think it will go in first and hopefully be followed by the. I'd have to check it off the top of my head. I don't remember, but I think if you select them in that sequence, hopefully they'll be presented in that sequence. I cannot guarantee it.
Okay. Another question that I think was repeated, can we build custom crosstab reports?
Custom, right. When we deliver the designer, we're planning to eventually, and I don't know when this will be, but eventually we are in the process of building a designer, that I can tell you, but I don't know when it will be ready and for delivery. Once it's ready for delivery, we should be able to select from any of the data sources that we have built, and hopefully also including the user-defined query as the queries that we've created, and select them as a data source, and to present them, any of them, or maybe mixing any of them as well, and presenting them as inside an analytics pattern. The current analytics pattern we have is the crosstab pattern. It is possible in the future we will have additional patterns in addition to the crosstab pattern that I demonstrated today, and that will be even more powerful. But that's the current plan. We're in the process of doing that.
So the next question, I think, was exactly what you said now. Is there any plans to make cross-tab reporting made available for custom query reports that we can create, or is it only available for select few reports that are out of the box? So I think you kind of answered that.
Yes, I believe I did answer that. So it's all going to be, please God, available whenever it is that we ultimately release that designer. And I should mention that every crosstab report that we have, we have so many fields available, even just in the sales analysis report, that we've got over 100 fields there, and that you can pretty much create. You could create many variants within that report itself. So there's a lot of flexibility in it. It's almost like a mini designer in its own right. But yes, to answer your question, we do have plans to deliver a designer where any data source can be put in, and you can create your own custom crosstab report.
Perfect. The next one, do you plan to provide card type analytics visualization to tiles? So instead of being a single number, like the KPI, for example, it can become a small chart.
Right. These are ideas we've been thinking about for a while. I'm just going to be transparent with you and share thoughts with you. Currently, our plans don't include that formally, but we've been talking, let's say, for example, we have the general overview screen in the analytics section, where we have an ability to select a card from anywhere in the database and create dashboards from sales in one card, purchases in another card, items, journal entries in another card, and you can put KPIs on those cards as well. And so we can create dashboards there. The idea is ultimately, if we can perhaps replace the homepage with a general overview screen and enable the user to change the size of those cards and to have little tiles and bigger cards, ultimately we might be able to have that kind of functionality. So we're certainly thinking about that. It's not, forgive the pun, it's not on the cards at this point in time. We've got to obviously prioritize the delivery of the basic web client functionality, etc. But that is certainly something that we're thinking about for the future.
And it is available in the general overview, so it's a kind of a
Well,
workaround.
what's available there is just as cards. You can't change the size of the cards.
Right.
So yes, it's available, and you can have dashboards there, and you can have just a one click from the homepage to open up whichever view in the general overview you want. And from there, by the way, you can navigate all over the place because if you create a card which is connected to a particular list view, when you click on the header of that card, it opens up that list view. So
Correct.
you've got quite a lot of functionality that's available already from the general overview screen.
Yeah. Okay, one last question before the AI questions. How do we prepare printed reports with parameter screen in the web client? What is the alternative to Crystal reports?
Oh, we're work. Well, I think that's a general question, not just related to parameter reports.
Yeah,
Parameter reports just add to the complexity of the question, I think. But what are our plans for printing? And of course, we have plans for printing. We're just trying desperately to bring out as many reports as possible. As I mentioned earlier, we're planning to deliver export to Excel in the 2608 release. And subsequent to that, we are planning to provide reporting output, very likely to be within Crystal Report format. And also, we're working on XML and electronic formats as well. So this is all in the pipeline. I cannot give you any estimated understanding of when we will actually deliver them, when we're planning to deliver them, but we are definitely working on it at the moment.
great. Okay. Now, the next question, how accurate will the AI query result be?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
Is AI accurate? The answer is it over the process. I can tell you one thing that when we first started building the AI UDQ, the LLMs that were available then, it was very hit and miss, and then we learned how to prompt it. There are complex prompts that are optimized for OpenAI that have been developed behind the scenes. It's not that the prompts are not simple, and over the period that we have been using it, that there's been an advance in the LLMs that have been available. And now with ChatGPT 5, the accuracy is definitely much higher than the previous versions. And we can realistically expect, let's be honest, we've now reached the age of AI generating AI. So, what's going to happen now in the AI market, we all know is going to be the exponential explosion of new versions, new releases of LLMs. And as they improve, I think you might agree with me that we can reasonably expect that the accuracy will increase dramatically. I've definitely witnessed that certainly over the development period for AI UDQ. And it also depends on the nature of the question you ask it. If you're going to put in a very detailed, specific question, you might increase the accuracy of the result. So it depends how, think about how you might use AI normally. If you just ask AI a casual question, you might get a casual answer. But if you ask it a very detailed question, if you want to get technical with it, that's fine. It will understand of any technicality you ask it, especially when it comes to SQL statements. Get technical with it and have a conversation with it. And eventually it gives you something that hopefully is very close to what you want. And you can tweak it again manually in the SQL statement itself. So hopefully we're getting better, and hopefully we will get to the stage soon where we can skip out, as I showed you in that POC, where we can skip out the SQL statement itself and go straight to the list view and go straight to the answer, basically.
Okay, good. Now the next question was want to use grouping and also require a drill down facility in the query results.
Right. Well, what we've done is for the AI UDQ, we very specifically instructed the LLM not to do grouping, for a very simple reason, because because our method of consumption is the list view, and the list view has grouping capabilities, it's just stunting the ability to analyze the data if we group it before we enter it into the list view. We should because the list view capability is so good with grouping that we should bring in the raw data, as much of the underlying transactional data into the list view, and use the list view to group the data itself. And that way you can save different variants, one with the data, with the transactional data, one with the groups, etc., and so on. So we
It's
have
completing the AI result with the
so
website
we're
functionality.
complementing the AI
Yeah.
result with the functionality of the list view, and that's
Mm-hmm.
important to bear in mind. And actually, in a way, this is actually potentially a good. I hope, I don't know. You may
It's
not
even
may
better.
not, may
Yeah.
not agree with me, but this might actually be a good marketing point, because the list view is standardized across our web client, and we've optimized the result of the AI UDQ for the list view consumption. And so the user should know how to use it and be able to extract the last, should we say, the last quarter mile of the effort should be in just manipulating that data. But as I showed you in the POC, that last quarter mile of the data can actually be generated as we train the AI UDQ. It can actually be generated by the UDQ, by the AI itself, when it generates the different variants. So even that last quarter mile can potentially be done by the AI, as we saw in that POC, and we're hoping to bring that to market as soon as possible as well.
Yeah. Okay, good. We have a lot of AI question, and Darius is answering while we're talking, which is good because we have, quite a lot still.
Okay.
So thank you, Darius, for the hard work. Now there is a question that is about Hebrew, but I guess it could be general regarding AI functionality. Does it support Hebrew?
I believe it does,
Or
yes.
any other language, I guess.
I believe it does, and we actually fixed a bug recently where parameters were not supported in Hebrew or Chinese, or different types of languages like that. And we fixed that bug. I'm not sure in which release it's been. It's fixed already. I'm not sure it's been released yet or not, but in principle, yes, we support other languages to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, hold on. And
Okay.
uh, can I just answer another aspect of that? I'm not sure if this is the question or not, but I'm sure somebody might want to ask the question. Can you ask your question in a different language, to AI in a different language apart from English? Well, yes, you can. The AI understands different languages, and it should be able to understand your question even if you ask it in Italian, French, whatever language you want. So hopefully that should work. I cannot personally attest to that. I've always only used it in English myself, but I know that AI. I think we all know that AI does understand multiple languages, so you should be okay using different languages.
For sure. Okay. Now the next question is about the MCP server. There were quite a lot, and Darius answered some of them. So let's use this one. The MCP server that is going to be open source. What are the services that's going to be accessible using the MCP server?
Okay, on this particular topic, I'm going to have to defer to my much more learned colleagues. If Darius is able to answer any question about MCP server in this call, he is welcome to. I cannot comment on the technicalities behind MCP server, and I know that my technical colleagues are working very hard on it, and we are really wanting to deliver it by around the 2608 delivery time, around that time on GitHub. That's all I know about MCP. I'm being totally transparent with you, and I cannot answer those questions at this point. So maybe we can collect these questions and have them answered by those people who are better placed to answer it than I.
Yeah, maybe just in addition, Avinom, this is Dario speaking. So the plan is really to provide some MCP tools to let agents understand, for example, how to create a business partner, how to create an item, how to create documents and things like this. So we will provide for all of these kind of, let's say, tasks, MCP tools, which then can be further enhanced and by the partners to do their own commits in GitHub. But we don't yet have a full list of MCP tools to be shared in collaboration with partners from the, as Avino mentioned, as of end of this year, maybe after the release of 2608, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Darius.
Okay, another question that came in various ways is the list view generated by the AI assistant submitted to SBO user authorization so that, for example, a salesperson can't generate a list for a financial statement?
Okay, so right, this is a very important question.
Yeah.
So dealing with user authorization, which is another key area, another key area of AI access. So with the AI UDQ, we have, this is not new. On the B1 desktop, it's the same functionality in the web client. We have an independent level of UDQ authorizations. So if a user has currently to have access to the UDQ environment in order to use it, period. If they don't have access to it, if they have access to it, then they have access and they can generate whatever UDQ they want. And then after the generation of the UDQ, they can assign it to a UDQ authorization group, and that will then be assigned to whatever set of group of users can look at that UDQ. So really, the UDQ generation is something that would be a tool that would be for somebody who can access the UDQ environment. So that's a very important question.
So it will be subjected to the UDQ profiling anyway, like in Business One.
Right. As far as Ask AI is concerned, well, there really is no problem there because you are already in the screen that you're sending the data from. So if you've got access to that screen, you can ask AI there. If you're not in that screen, you can't ask AI. Where the question really becomes a big deal is when you have like in the POC, if you've got a little button that you can push to ask a question of AI from anywhere, and then what kind of questions will you be able to ask? And of course, we would want to limit the answers to fit in with the authorization profile of that user. So these are all things that we're thinking about, and we want to make sure that we're securing the data as much as possible. So at the moment, what we've delivered is we've focused very strongly on the data security, and we believe that there's no scope for compromise here, and at the moment. And in the future, as we extend our AI use cases, we will need to tackle very carefully how we approach authorization, and also what kind of what I was talking about earlier, what kind of information we want to share with the AI, because that could be can you imagine if the AI has got access to our company data and then somehow I don't know, some hacker gets in and shares it with the tax authorities? That could be a disaster. So we don't want anything like that, God forbid, to happen. So at the moment it just can't happen. And we want to make sure that when we're sharing, even if this is a very important point, even if you turn off training data for AI, you're still sharing, you can have whatever non-disclosure agreements you want with your AI company. You're still sharing your company data with AI. Do you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Some companies might not be bothered and might not be worried about it. But if I was running a company, I would be thinking very, very, very carefully about what data I would want to be sharing with AI and what kind of analytics I would allow AI to perform on my data while it understands what it's looking at. So these are all questions that need to be considered very carefully. And some people are selling all sorts of products where maybe the end user doesn't realize what they're potentially exposing their company data to. And I think we need to be very careful. So we're just being cautious, and we will gradually deliver our use cases following our security caution.
Okay, so there were questions in the same, in the same topic that you just referred to right now. There is one more question about the cross report. Let's go back to that. Can we also use user-defined fields in the cross reports?
The Crosstab reports, to the best of my recollection, if you have, let's say in the sales analysis, if you have user-defined fields, I believe they are available.
Okay, perfect. And then, okay, there were questions about the, that not related to this session, so we're going to skip them. But okay, again about MCP, you answered that. Does not, okay, will access be controlled per use? Okay, I think you answered that. Will access to AI functionality be controlled per user group via yeah, you answered that already.
And I'll just add, just in case, I think I did mention it already, but just I'll say it again. We have separate authorizations for access to AI UDQ per user and access to Ask AI per user. So there are different elements of that even that we've got authorization access. So we do control it on a per user basis for each application, for each use case.
Okay. I think you kind of refer to that. Can I fine-tune these AI models to train them on my custom development tables?
Right, there was an option in the, I didn't talk about it. I showed you on the screen with the AI setup. There was an option if you want to include the user-defined tables and fields information in the information that interacts with the AI, and you can select that option. You can choose that. How effective that works as training, I can't answer that question. It's a bit of a tricky question to answer, but we have an option to share that information. If you want to, well, what I'm talking about when I'm sharing the information is not sharing the data, it's sharing the existence of the tables and the field names for those tables. So what happens is, I'll give you a little bit more insight in when we're interacting with the AI UDQ. What's happening behind the scenes is we've got lots of prompting going on behind the scenes, and we have a to and fro going on. We've got several iterations that are going on with the actual LLM, and the LLM, we send the user's question to the LLM, and we ask the LLM to tell us what data it wants to work with, and we send it that data. And if the user definable, I'm not talking about the data, sorry, what tables and fields it wants to work with, and we send it the information related to that. And by the way, all that information is available anyway on the web. So and it's very interesting. LLMs seem to have a very good idea already of the SAP Business One table structure and field structure. Also, all of this is public information anyway. So we have that setting in the AI setup. If you want to share your table structure for your user-defined tables and user-defined fields, etc., you can opt in and share that, and hopefully you'll get some constructive answers, including your user-defined tables and fields. But it does not have access to the data itself, very importantly.
Okay, good. So, yeah, I must say that the question was repeated. You will get, everyone who registered to the webinar, you will get notification that the recording is ready. Anyway, you can always go back to the registration link, and the webinar recording and slides will be published there in 2 or 3 days. So this question was repeated. Okay, and this is about the MCP server again. Can you have default best prompt? Okay, that's a nice one. Can we have the default or best prompts for using them in the web client for Ask AI UDQ or other places in the web client?
That's a nice question. I mean, at the moment, we're not providing any defaults. And because at the end of the day, it's very difficult to second guess what a user may actually want to know. It's all very well me coming up with an example of technical specifications for printers, but what would the user want to know? And it's I guess we have to think that we're just using AI. How will the user interface with AI? And all we're doing is we're bringing that home and making it just easier to interface with AI from our application by, instead of copying the Xerox multifunction and work center printer names and model numbers into the AI and asking about technical specifications, we're enabling the user to be able to just create the question there. It's very difficult for us to second guess what what anyone might be asking, and I think everybody will be asking different questions there. But I accept the question. I accept the premise of the question. It's
Yeah,
always
it's
good to have some
amazing.
sort of defaults and some sort of examples, and it may be a good idea to do that.
Okay, so we're almost at the end of the meeting. Maybe just one more question. So let's choose a nice one. Okay, will it be possible to query sales forecast based on historical information in the system?
To query a sales forecast based on historical information. We certainly have the historical information on the system. Of sales forecasts we will have in a separate table. Do you mean to ultimately update a sales forecast based on historical information? Well, we don't update anything at the moment. Querying any data that is in the databases that can be included in an SQL query is open for grabs. If you can create it inside an SQL query, which you pretty much can create an SQL query using any table in the system, then it's available for building any query. And there's no difference between a query created like that, and if the AI is capable of understanding what the sales forecast tables are, etc., then it can do it. I cannot guarantee the AI will necessarily be intimately familiar with the shall we say the tables on the periphery of the system. It certainly has deeper knowledge of the core tables of B1 system. And I guess everyone's going to find out soon. We will find out. It's an exploratory process. I can't tell you for sure that AI knows about all the limits of SAP Business One. The information, again, as I said before, is available. It's out there on the web already. The table structures, the field structures are available on the web, and the AI should be able to work with that.
Cool. Okay, thank you, Avinam. It was a great session. You can see by the number of the questions that keep coming that people are really excited about it. And thank you, Darius, for still answering all that questions that came up.
Maybe
And
just
thank you for your
one final
Darius.
question I want to answer is the very last one. So, will it have a section to add the system prompt? So I understand that from the Ask AI features, partners can define, create questions, reconfigure them for their customers, and include parameters like the card code, the card name, the item price, whatever, variables from the form where the Ask AI is used. They can build some kind of predefined system queries or queries, including parameters, and the end user will just have in the drop-down a short title of this feature, like give me the delivery price or the times or whatever. But at the end, the query will be much longer, and this can be defined by the partner. And of course, we're using all different properties you want to add to this query, like the persona or whatsoever. So this can be considered as a system prompt from my point of view. I'm not sure if you want to add anything to this.
Yeah, I do want to add, because I've just realized that when you're talking about the parameters in Ask AI, I may have misunderstood a question I was asked much earlier, which mentioned parameters. As soon as parameter was mentioned, I just went into parameter UDQ mode, and I just realized that yes, Ask AI has got parameters, field parameters from the current form that can be entered into a question. And quite frankly, that question with the parameters, it can just be copied and pasted from one company to another, etc. So you can create a whole bank of questions if you want, just paste them, literally copy and paste them into whichever company you want, whichever customer wants to use it. It can be as complicated a question as you want. And I don't think we've limited the length of the question, or I think we've got the question can be quite long, and the field names, as long as those fields exist in the object. So if you're creating a question in the sales order list view in one company, you can just literally copy and paste that into the sales order list view in another company, as long as the same fields are visible. It might be the particular view in that list view in the other company. If that view exists, then we should be able to copy and paste the question in there. At the moment, we do not export, and I'm just thinking aloud now, this is a very important point, we do not export the Ask AI questions when we export views. And that's a feature that would be very nice to add in the future. So hopefully we'll do that one day. So one day soon. Okay, and I just want to thank Karen as well, and also Darius for your input. Thank you very much for your input in the Q&A and your help. Thank you. And thank you again, everybody. It's really been, I hope you're excited about what we're doing with analytics and AI, and I'm certainly excited about it and looking forward to speaking to you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.